Well, good morning, everyone. So good to see you. Thanks for participating in your county government process. At this time, I'll call the Paulding County Board of Commissioners May the 14th work session to order. And Brian, if you could bring me the list of folks to speak. As far as elected officials, goodness gracious, I don't see any. Don't see anybody. Okay. Don't leave anybody out. We're privileged to have Pastor Gene Morehouse of Westside Baptist Church to bring us their invocation and lead us in our pledge. Stand at your able.
I'd like to start with a short statement. We've made the national news in Georgia for saying a heartbeat equals life. And I believe that that's a step in the right direction for common sense. Let's bow for prayer, please. Heavenly Father, as we come to you, may common sense rule, and may we realize our morals and our decisions affects life everywhere. To take a life when there's no reason to, no exceptions, we ask, Lord, that you guide us and direct us. Be with our commissioners, that they may be wise in their decisions, that they may be guided by you, and that they may be blessed. Be with our citizens, that they bring forth the glory, and as we saw at Helping Hands, so many people showing up to paint, to clean, to put floors in trailers, and just pulling together as a community. We ask, Lord, that truly we may see and understand. May we be encouraged. May we support those in law enforcement, those in our medical, those who are firefighters, and all the volunteers that we have in this county. May we realize the joy that we have of living in a nation that confess that we are one nation under you. Help us to be what we ought to be, what we could be and should be. And as we do so, Lord, may we never forget the gift of your Son and his love for us. In the name of your Son, Jesus, all God's family said, Amen. Ready? Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Pastor Morehouse. Beautiful. Under minutes, the April 23rd, 2019 work session minutes and the April 23rd, 2019 board meeting minutes are available for review. Also, the April 18th, 2019 town hall meeting minutes are available also for your review. Enjoy with us the Paulding, Positively Paulding segment, talking about University of Georgia Extension Office getting a makeover.
Hi, I'm Becky. And I'm Mary Carroll, and we're the Paulding County UGA Extension, and we're here at the office today. It's been renovated, and we're going to go in and see it for the first time. So let's go ahead and take a look. It's like all the way through, and it smells so good. It's awesome. It smells, yeah. It's great.
We decided last year to try to do a remodel in the building. And we did some quotes, and they were kind of high, but we managed to work through it. Brought my crew in, and with the help of the Sheriff's Department Work Task Force, Inmate Work Task Force, we were able to come in the building and do a whole lot more work than we had previously budgeted. So with the help of the Sheriff's Department and my maintenance staff, we were able to come in under budget. We still have some money left over from the project. So we did a really good job for the taxpayers in the county, and we did a good job for the Extension Office.
I just want to give a very big thank you to Jennifer Crow, our Paulding County Building Maintenance Manager, who's overseen this project and made it go so smoothly. And I want to let everybody know that we're so grateful to him that we recognized him as our Paulding County Friend of 4-H this year. He's been so super supportive to make our building more functional, and we're so grateful. If you want to reach us for 4-H or for ag and natural resources questions here at our office, you can reach us at 770-443-7616, and you can find information online at www.ugaextension.org/Paulding.
Thank you, Public Information Section. Mary Keir Sheffield with the County Extension, Jimmy Renfro with our Facilities Management Team, and also Sheriff Gullis for his work. It was a great job. We also have under announcements Lori Ashmore, our Water Systems Director. You let us know a little bit more about upcoming visitation possibilities out at Richland Creek Reservoir and the field day tours coming up.
In the fall of 2018, we hosted an open house field day at Richland Creek Reservoir. It turned into quite a success. We had nearly 100 people come out for tours. We had people stationed around the site to explain what was going on, what the future held for that site. It was such a success, we decided to try it again this spring, and it is scheduled for May 31st. And we have a little video that we'd like to share with you.
The afternoon of May 31st, tours will be given of the Richland Creek Reservoir. Leading the tours are people from Brown and Caldwell, charged with overseeing the building of the site. The dream of Paulding County's own water source is finally coming true. So join us on May 31st for the guided tour. Go to www.rcrwater.com. Follow the link and register.
Once someone clicks that link on the rcrwater.com website, they'll be taken to a page and be able to sign up for the time slot that they're available to come out to the site. If you've got it on if you're looking at it on your phone, you may need to scroll up to access that, because that area on the right will be underneath. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Will it go if it's raining also? They have a rain date?
We don't. We do not have a rain date at this point, but yes, we will have to reschedule if it's a big rain. A drizzle will still go.
Sounds good.
Dave, why don't you go ahead and get an order in for clear weather?
We'll leave that Pastor Morehouse and Chuck Hart. We have no invited guests today. Under bid awards, number one is award the contract to renovate the information technology data room to renovate the cooling units to the lowest responsible bidder, Addison Smith Mechanical, in the amount of $146,388. Have the following.
Good morning. On May 31st, Paulding County Finance received bids to renovate the information technology data room cooling units to include ductwork, electronic work, and removing supporting items that are no longer required. The existing cooling unit is unable to provide adequate cooling redundancy and is in a location with the potential of releasing water over the technology equipment. Over the years, equipment loading has increased the demand for cooling. Therefore, we're providing increased capacity with these renovations, and we're funding this with projects, both information technology as well as government facilities had some capital projects that they did not get to complete this year, and so we're reallocating those funds to cover this much needed renovation project. We had two bidders, and we're recommending award to Addison Smith, which is the low bidder, in the amount of $146,388. And both Will Lyons and Jimmy Renfro are available if you have any questions.
Anyone have any questions or concerns? Thank you, Kevin. Bid award number two is the award to award the public safety server purchase in the amount of $192,273.05 to PC Solutions and Integration Incorporated.
If you'll recall, in February, we awarded a purchase of software to include CAD as well as a records management for fire and the jail. And this is the server to house that software. So this is the first of a couple of hardware purchases that will be needed for that software. This one is separate because it includes the hardware as well as professional services in the area of support. It's much needed public safety 24/7 support. So that was a factor, as well as the hardware itself. We had three bids, and fortunately this is where IT's recommending award to the lowest bidder, PCS, in
the amount of $192,273.05 for those servers.
Any questions you didn't have answered in your backup material? All right, we're good to go. Number 3, approve the agreement with Yellowstone Landscape for the fiscal year 2019 countywide shoulder maintenance service contract in the amount of $889,557.90. The contract provides multiple cycles for mowing, trimming, and litter pickup on 521 miles of county roads and 21 miles of 4-lane state highway. And joined by Mr. Jones.
So this is a one-year contract. We did have 3 bidders to participate. One bidder declined after submitting their bid, and so we're recommending award to the lowest responsible bidder.
Morning. Morning. I'll give you a little backup on this mowing and maintenance contract. We haven't bid out these services since 2013. Loving Contracting had performed the work for the last 6 years, honoring the 2013 contract prices. They informed us late last year that they would not be able to do that anymore, so we bid this work out. We rebid it and opened originally the bids on March 1st of 2019. We received only 2 bidders, and the cost was more than we had thought, so we decided to rebid again, contacting folks who were pre-qualified by GDOT to do mowing and landscape services. We contacted an additional 24 companies. We rebid again and opened up bids in April 16th, I believe. We received 3 bids, so we did get more bidders. I think there's just a lot of work out right now. A lot of folks are busy, so out of these 3 bids, like Tabitha had said, the low bid said it could not perform the work at the prices advertised. Yellowstone Landscape was the next bidder. We met with them. They've done work for Douglas County, DeKalb County, Gwinnett County. They do this type of work. Again, like I said, we're just looking at 4 cycles of mowing and litter pickup on 521 miles of roadway throughout the growing season. And then also looking at 2 cycles of off-season litter pickup during the winter time. Each mowing cycle, we have a 30-day completion day, so if they start, let's say, May 1st, they should be done by May 30th. They plan on working from the south part of the county and going northwards. We met with them yesterday, and if everything goes right, I believe we can have the work started next Monday. Previously, we've had agreements in place with the cities of Dallas and Hiram for doing mowing on their sections of US 278. We supplement the state efforts by providing additional cuts. Obviously, 278 and 120 are 4-lane highways, gateways throughout the county. So we like to make sure those look nice and well appearance. Hiram and Dallas, like I said, both done in the past. Dallas has let us know that they actually approved last week to go forward and join us in this mowing contract. I talked with the city manager yesterday, Jody Palmer, and he's going to present this to his board later on this month also. Is there any questions you may have?
Thank you, George and Tabitha, very much.
Thank you.
Getting into reports from committees and departments, we're pleased to have our Director of 911, E911, David Mumford, to give us an update on the National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. Good morning, David.
Good morning. I'm supposed to have okay, showing now, okay. So each year we have the second full week of April is dedicated to our designated National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. And what we've got in front of us is some pictures that came out of this week, or this celebration a few weeks ago. This was initially set up in 1981 by the Contra Costa County Sheriff's Office in California. And it's a time that set aside to celebrate and thank those who dedicate their lives to serving the public as public safety telecommunicators. It's a week that's set aside so that everyone can be made aware of their hard work and dedication, and also so that we can kind of go overboard and we spoil them a little bit with activity during that week. We're blessed in Paulding County to have a very hard-working team of professionals that work at the 911 Center 24/7, and they help ensure the safety of our citizens and our responders. This year, as most years, our event was funded by donations mainly from vendors, and they helped provide food and activities and such for us for that entire week. And also this week, we were visited by a couple of commissioners. Chairman Carmichael came out and brought food to us, and Commissioner Stover came out and brought food and visited with our folks. And I think you guys got a first-hand look at how they went from carrying on a conversation and talking to you to being focused on their job when the call started coming in. So and we appreciate everything that you guys do and all the support that you gave us. When people give out well-deserved things to law enforcement and fire and EMS, sometimes the folks that work at 911 are kind of forgotten because they do work in the background. And it's not as much as people don't appreciate the work they do, it's just that they never see them. They're not out in public, and they don't wear the uniform and are seen at the scene, so they're kind of forgotten. But they are the voices on the radio or on the telephone. They're behind the headsets, and they provide guidance and comfort to our responders and our callers. They are generally the first voice that anyone hears in an emergency, and they're the last people that you want to have to call. We've always talked about how when someone calls 911, they're not having the best day of their life. You know, this is for us, it's a job. For them, this is the worst thing that's probably happened to them, and they are reaching out to us for help. The telecommunicators are moms and dads and brothers and sisters, aunts, uncles, grandparents, and each day they leave their families behind, and they come to work so they can take care of our families. They do this 24/7, and like everyone else in public safety, they're away from their families on holidays, birthdays, and other special occasions, so they can come in and take care of us. And while they may be forgotten to some extent, their satisfaction is an internal satisfaction. That they know that every day when they come to work, that they've made a difference in somebody's life. And you know, we have a group of professionals that are very good at that, well trained, well disciplined, and they do a good job for us in Paulding County. They're very amazing and special people. And there's only very few people that can do their job. And our telecommunicators, they embody the essence of our mission statement, which is keeping our community safe one call at a time, and that's exactly what they do. They dedicate themselves to that. So we have a few of our employees out. They want to stand. The deputy director, our operations manager, and our quality assurance manager are in the room today. So. But if you would join me in thanking the men and women who are our first responders, and they really enjoyed that week, and we had a fun time with everybody coming out and visiting with us. So if you would join me in thanking them for their dedication and service. Pretty much all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you for a great report, outstanding team you have. Is there some bias against men among employees, or are women just that much better communicators?
Well, you know, I hate to, if I say that women are that, you know, my wife sometimes watches this, so but no, we do have a large majority of our staff are female, and I think the guys are all working night shift right now. So when you came out, you didn't get to see even the two that we have. So. But no, it takes a special person to do the job, and for a long time I was the only guy out there, so I'm not feeling quite as outnumbered right now with the two other guys.
Great work. I think we all feel a lot safer because of your team and what you all do. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no one who signed up for public participation on agenda items under the consent agenda. There are three items. Number one is to amend the Paulding County Board of Commissioners' regular meeting schedule to change the Tuesday, May 28th, 2019 at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. to Thursday, May 30th, 2019 at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. Number 2 is to amend the March 13th, 2018 board meeting minutes regarding planning and zoning item 2017-14-Z to include the second made by Bernie Collette and the 5-0-0 unanimous vote that was omitted due to a clerical error. And number 3 is to accept the Corporate Drive North and Commerce Parkway as a commercial streetlight district per criteria contained in the Paulding County Code of Ordinances. Would any of the commissioners like to move any of the consent agenda items up to new business? Hearing none, we will leave them as consent agenda items. And under old business, there are no items there. Under new business, number 1 is discuss action to approve the request by Airport Director Terry Tibbetts to approve funding in an amount not to exceed $500,000 for the conversion of a large airport hangar known as Hangar 1. It's currently designated as a Group 2 hangar. This conversion to a Group 3 hangar would provide that the structure is in full compliance with all current building and fire code regulations requirements. Mr. Frank Baker to report, and we do have folks from the fire department here to also weigh in.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I asked this be added to the agenda pursuant to a request from Mr. Tibbetts, and really Mr. Tibbetts can come forward and really give us the meat and potatoes of what this agenda item is going to entail. Basically, it's taking the large hangar, Hangar 1, and converting it over, as you mentioned in your synopsis of it. But I'm glad Mr. Tibbetts is here and he can explain it a lot better than I can.
Okay, thank you. And we have a number of folks from the Paulding County Fire Department here as well. They can chime in at any time and make sure that what I'm telling you is correct, true, and an accurate representation of the facts. We do have a very large building out at the airport. It's the 25,000 square foot hangar with the 10,000 square foot office space attached to it for a total of 35,000 square feet. The hangar is unique in that hangars are covered under not only the International Building Code, but NAFPA 409, which is the standard on aircraft hangars. So this is a document that's created by an industry set of representatives for an international standards committee, specifically to address fire code issues when you have aircraft being stored inside a building. When our building was constructed, the original plans called for a wall to be added to reduce the size of the structure so that it would fall within the guidelines of what is called a Group 3 hangar building. And due to a number of reasons, funding being a big one, that wall was never constructed, and the hangar has essentially been unfinished, incomplete since that time. And when I took this job in one of the first fire inspections that I had with the local fire marshal's office here, they educated me on what the requirements were. I then obtained a copy of 409, read it myself, made sure I understood what the requirements are for this space. And to summarize, it is basically a requirement to have either a foam overlay system on top of your water sprinkler system, or to divide the structure into sub-fire areas or sub-compartments of fire areas not larger than 12,000 square feet. And again, remember, we have a structure of 25,000 square feet. So one of the things I did is, one of our board members is friends with Mr. Mercer Dye. Mr. Mercer Dye is actually on the standards committee for 409, and he arranged a meeting for us at the airport. Mr. Dye came out, inspected our building, gave me further clarification on what the requirements were, and recommended that I contract with a Mr. Sam Bill, who's a professional registered engineer in Georgia, to do an official formal study of our building to discuss the compliance issues. We did that, and we have that report. We then contracted with Fisher Engineering, which is a hydrology fire extinguisher sprinkler system design firm here in the Atlanta area. to do a detailed study on what it would take to add foam to our building. And we stopped that study when the price exceeded over $500,000 because it became clear that there was no way we were going to be able to afford that solution. And so we then put all of our attention on the requirements for a wall. At that time, we contracted with the original architectural firm, Rose and Reed, for the Hangar 1, and had them develop a set of detailed permittable plans for a fully compliant wall. That's been completed. It has now been approved by all the necessary bodies here in Paulding County, and we are ready to pick up a building permit for that set of plans, so we could start construction immediately. The next question then becomes, how do you contract for the construction of something of this type? Again, hangars are unique, so we began to look around for how is the best way to contract for this. The state of Georgia, the Department of Administrative Services, administers a very large contract vehicle for the purposes of constructing and renovating anything really, but certainly it falls into unique structures such as ours. And this is a contract. It is a fully competitively awarded to 15 different winners. And it's in its second rendering now. It was originally awarded back in 2011 to 7 vendors. Then it was recompeted a number of years ago. And there are currently 15 bidders on this contract vehicle. But it allows you to go to them with unique requirements and not have to develop a full specification for your construction. So this contract contains 2 documents in particular that are pertinent to this discussion. One is a construction task catalog, which contains over 200,000 line items for various construction tasks. So if you're installing an electrical outlet, pouring concrete, whatever, it's outlined in that document with a full description of what that task is. And there's a companion document, an additional 3,500 pages in that contract for technical specifications and quality control processes and procedures. So this controls the quality and the methods under which the construction takes place, so that whatever you wind up with has a full spec behind it. The state has issued over $70 million of construction statewide. Most recently, in our area, the Georgia National Guard has just completed a $6 million building that was built in accordance with this contract vehicle. And so we would propose that we use this as our awarding mechanism. Again, it's fully compliant with all state of Georgia procurement rules and regulations. And we feel that it would cost us far more to develop a unique specification for what we're doing here than what you might possibly save by going out on what you would consider an open competition for this one job. Again, this is a fully competed contract vehicle, so this is a competitively awarded program, but it is not competitively awarded to this task, okay? But this task is fully compliant with all state requirements. It is more than a wall. We have a 156-foot by 28-foot clear span opening covered by a steel hangar door. And we have to do a modification to this door to allow for the wall to penetrate through that door and go to the extreme limits of the building. Just the modification on the door is going to be close to $100,000. So it's more than sheetrock and studs. The wall is 50 feet high, which is rather unique. It is built on top of concrete containment down because it has to be certified to contain jet fuel spills. So there are a lot of things about this that drive the cost up. I understand that many people would look at this and say, why does it cost $500,000 to build a wall? The answer is this is not just any wall. It is a unique wall with unique requirements, and this contract allows us to capture all of the trades, all of the specs, all of the quality control for this wall in a fully contained document so that we can award it in a cost-effective way for the county. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Could you give a layman's terms definition of the difference between Group 2 and Group 3?
It's very easy. It's 12,000 square feet. So a Group 2 hangar is a hangar that exceeds 12,000 square feet in one fire area, in one opening. There are also limitations on the size of the door and a number of other things, but in layman's terms, it's basically that number. So by definition, our building today being 25,000 square feet makes it a Group 2. Group 3 is a hangar or a hangar cluster, which after this conversion, we will technically be a hangar cluster of multiple fire areas of less than 12,000 square feet each.
Okay, is there anything you can do in a Group 3 that you can't do in a Group 2?
There is nothing you can do in a Group 3 that you can't do in a Group 2, as long as both groups are fully compliant. The problem that we have today is our Group 2 space is not fully compliant, so there are things that we can't do in that space, like store aircraft that are fully fueled. You can't do certain maintenance operations. In neither of these spaces can you do welding, doping, open flame, soldering, these kinds of things. So there are still limitations, even with the Group 3. But the Group 3 limitations are things that are well within what we want to use the building for. So this would bring us into full compliance with all national, international, and special such as 409 fire code requirements.
One concern I have, and maybe it's just with the way I read it or the way that it was written, are we out of compliance with fire code, or do we have a situation where we're operating outside of fire regulations?
We are technically out of compliance today. So we, in order to...
Is that because we're storing fueled airplanes in there, or is it for something?
That's because we potentially could be storing fueled airplanes. We try to put all of the airplanes in empty.
Right.
But it's very difficult to guarantee that that's always the case because somebody may come in late at night and put an airplane in there. So in order to make sure that we are 100% compliant at all times, we need to make this conversion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Okay, thank you.
New business number 2 is discuss action to approve a request by the Airport Authority that the Board of Commissioners approve in response to the Georgia Department of Transportation, GDOT, reference GDOT's fiscal year 2020 proposed technical assistance letter, and authorize the chairman to respond on behalf of the Board of Commissioners. Mr. Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this is an agenda item that was requested by Mr. Tibbetts, and if he could come back up and give us the technical aspects of this, I appreciate it. Thank you, Chairman.
I briefed before the process for obtaining grants out at the airport. These are federally funded grants administered by the state of Georgia. And at the start of each FY, now we're a little before the start of the FY now, it starts on 1 July. But GDOT is trying to move their deadlines up to give airports more time to complete their grants within the required 12-month period. But at the start of the grant process, GDOT notifies each airport in Georgia what they intend to award. You could consider this a kind of a pre-notification of a grant. So this doesn't commit us to accepting the grant. It simply says that GDOT is intending to award this grant sometime during the coming FY. The grant that they are proposing that we receive comes from our 5-year, what's called the Capital Improvement Program, the CIP Improvement 5-year plan. And what they are proposing to fund this year is the design phase of some airfield safety improvements. And in layman's terms, this is going to be to lower the 2 hills on either side of the runway that are currently in violation of the Part 77 surface requirement that we have. And this was known when the airport was built. Airports are built incrementally because you can't get all of the funding typically when you're building airports to do it all at one time. So the FAA knowingly authorizes airports to be constructed with known deficiencies that are then addressed over the lifetime of the airport to bring them into full compliance with all of the FAA requirements. So in this particular case, they are going to provide a grant in the amount not to exceed $150,000 for the design phase of some improvements to remove the size of those hills so that we're in compliance on our Part 77 services. Questions on that?
Are there any other outstanding Part 77 concerns?
Trees are always a concern. We've got steady growth of the regenerative pine trees that grow up inside the fence line, and those constantly have to be maintained and kept to certain height. We work on that every year. We are currently out of compliance on our pavement marking. Our pavement markings are 10 years old, but we have received a grant this year to redo the pavement marking. So once that is completed, we will have new fresh runway markings. And those are the two main concerns, or three main concerns that we have right now: the trees, the hills, and the pavement markings. And we're addressing all three of those with the addition of this grant.
Other questions? Thanks again.
Thank you.
It's the conclusion of our regular business. Under public participation on non-agenda items, we have Mr. Tyler Kelly, who's here to discuss what's called a sanctuary county. And thanks for being here, Tyler.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I would like to express my gratitude for the privilege I have to address you all this morning. I pray that the words of my mouth and that the meditations of my heart will be acceptable to the Lord in what I'm about to say. The purpose of my message is to humbly illustrate the landscape regarding abortion before you as local government officials and to evaluate the current situation in Paulding County and identify ways that we can do our duty to defend our preborn neighbors. The issue that I am speaking of is not a subjective moral issue. It is sin against a holy and a just God. We all know that God commands us not to murder. I believe the Bible is clear that our God hates murder, as he hates all sin. We are all guilty of sin, but have the opportunity to have our sins forgiven through the blood of God's Son. I believe the only way to address the issue of abortion is with the gospel of Jesus Christ. A human life begins at conception. The only difference from a newly conceived embryo and a 2-year-old is degree of development. I have a 9-month-old daughter, and I have a picture of her when she was only 7 weeks old at her ultrasound. Our God surely has knit us together in our mother's womb. Abortion is the destruction of a human life in the womb and is at any point in the child's development murder. Our state governor has just signed a bill that I believe will save the lives of many babies. However, it is an example of how for years now the incremental approach to regulate murder has left some groups of babies unprotected. It needs to be emphasized that abortion is still legal in Georgia, and that abortion of a younger baby is still murder. Some possibilities I would like our local government to consider include banning the future development of abortion clinics in our county, and banning the sale of abortion-inducing drugs that are even found in Plan B pills and some birth control pills. But most importantly, we must pray for and rely upon the grace of our great and sovereign God, that through the power of His Holy Spirit, our hearts and minds are aligned with His will, and we are led in the path of righteousness regarding this issue of abortion and our local community, all for the glory of His name. Thank you for your time and your attention. God bless you.
Thanks, sir.
Appreciate you being here, Tyler. We have the requirement for executive session today for personnel, real estate, pending and potential litigation. So this time we'll entertain a motion that we adjourn to executive session for those reasons.
I'll make the motion that we go for those reasons.
Thank you, Ron. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Caker. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned for executive session. I'll call the regular session back to order and report that no action was taken in the closed session. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
All right, make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion by Commissioner Davis, second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Harlow. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned.